So, Stephen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Some of the audience will know you as the founder and CEO of the company formerly known as Dub, and you've recently rebranded, so you're now known as Further. Before we talk about the rebrand, can you tell us a little bit about Dub and Further and the sorts of work that you do?
Yes, indeed. I mean, fundamentally, the work that we do hasn't changed. It's probably worth saying the rebrand really, the brand is the tip of the iceberg, but what we've been doing under the hood, so to speak, for the last 10 years has constantly changed. We've been in a sort of constant beta mode whereby, we work closely with our clients to understand, what's happening in their world in the same way that a brand needs to do that with consumers. But effectively what we do is help our clients, and our clients include researchers in-house and in agencies. They include creatives and designers, planners and strategists, and those working at the kind of fuzzy front end of innovation, if you like. And so effectively what we do is help them dial up technology and dial up human analysis and capabilities as and when required to really just get a really rich contextual understanding of what consumers and what people are doing, and answering that why question, that classic why question. So what is informing those decisions? What are triggering those activities? What are the motivations behind purchases? All of those kind of classic qualitative questions. But as I say, we're using technology in the best and most appropriate way, but also helping our clients build capability within their organizations as well to do this research rigorously at the speed and scale that business requires it. And that's something that's really just evolved. It's not changed overnight. But I think the way that we've set our business up now, the way we've developed our technology, but also our team and our own internal capabilities so that we can upskill and train and develop our clients' capabilities has certainly evolved. And I think there's no doubt that, from day one, we were working on global projects with clients in all four corners of the world. That's not changed. But again, the ability to do that sort of global research and multi-market studies quicker than ever, that speed and time constraints continue to get squeezed. So that's one area certainly where we're continually looking to advance, how we can do things quicker, but not compromising the quality of the insights and the quality of the interactions that we have with the consumers and the target audiences that we want to connect with. So culture, context, understanding that using digital tools and technologies, and answering that why question at the speed of business really still is fundamentally at the heart of what we do.
So we've kind of been talking about how you rebranded, and partly we have to mention that early on in the webinar because otherwise people look at the Further logo and think, wonder who they are. And we want our audience to know that you're the same people. I'm assuming that you didn't decide to rebrand quite, it wasn't a light decision. It would have been, something that you thought long and hard about. What were some of the key trends in research approaches, that you see that perhaps influenced your decision to rebrand?
Yeah, and you're right. We're a fairly mature business now. We've been around for 10 years. So taking a decision to rebrand is not something you take lightly. And there are many implications, and indeed there is a significant cost associated with that. So these things need to be done in careful consideration of, the business case, but also ensuring that it's delivering some value and communicating the right thing to our target audience, the people that are benefiting from the use of our technologies and our skill sets. But I think I don't like the word trends because, what I would never want to be doing is building a business based on something that we don't know is going to be sustainable. And one of the things I'm very proud of is that we have actually built a very sustainable technology business without any external investment. And that's because we haven't responded rapidly to trends, but that we've just kept our head down and kept a track of some of the patterns and behaviors. Things are constantly changing, there's no doubt about that. But one thing that's not changing other than in a very positive way is that qualitative research is certainly seeing an ongoing resurgence. whether that's, specific methods within qualitative research such as ethnography, or just simply end clients' need to answer that why question. And that's where I think call it a trend if you like, but I think big data was a trend for such a long time and people continue to talk about that. But I think qualitative research is very much the bed partner to that, where, being able to see the bigger picture and understand, why they're seeing what they're seeing through big data. So you could say that's one trend and an area that we continue very much to be focused on. I think the other trend is just the frequency at which qualitative research is now done. And I think part of that is down to clients' appetite for it. But I think part of that is down to the fact that it is much more lightweight. Dare I use the language of lean and agile? I know it's very overused, but, qualitative research can be done in that way now. The consumer connections are there. The methodologies are very well developed. The technology is there to support it. So actually, 20 years ago, qualitative research took substantial effort and cost and time to deliver a project and some good outcomes. Now you can do it much quicker, and subsequently we're seeing the frequency at which qualitative research is being done as increasing. So that's really positive. And I think that includes both tactical and strategic research. We work in both of those areas, but I think one of the areas that we are really passionate about and where we can see our particular style of research being done is in that kind of innovation space, going in and understanding consumers' lives, their lifestyles, what the frustrations are, and what the difficulties they're having in life that they don't yet have a solution for. And so that's a really exciting area. It's very different to things like qualitative evaluation or communications testing, which we also support. But I think a lot more of our work we're seeing is in that innovation space. And I think that plays to another trend that I would probably pick up here, which is about, there are many exciting disruptive brands coming into the market every day. And I think where we work and where we support the work of researchers is often in the world of these bigger, older legacy brands that are clearly panicking a little bit, trying to reestablish some relevance in the mind's eye of the consumer. And essentially their business models are disrupted, their business models are broken, and they're having to go out and create new consumer connections in the light of disruptive brands that have consumer connections from day one, because essentially they have been designed in a very consumer-centered way rather than, based on a business model that is very much around economics. So I think that's a huge trend that, research plays to really, really well. So we're helping lots of those kind of legacy brands re-establish that relevance in consumers' world. And that's not something you turn around very quickly. That's, part of a very long-term strategy for some of these brands, but they're having to do it, and their hands are being forced by this disruptive brands. And I'd say the other trend really is one that I've been involved with for a number of years now, and that's really where qualitative research is being labeled as something different, but it's actually very much the same discipline, the same methods, and that's in the world of user research and in the world of service design, where essentially, designers and creatives are being upskilled as researchers and spending much more time looking over the shoulder and sitting down with their user base, on their potential user base, to understand how they're engaging with their products and services, and so that they can design these very user and human-centered products and services. So we do a lot of really exciting work in that space. And I think, often those conversations aren't happening in this sort of qualitative research or market research domain. They're actually happening in a very different parallel universe. And I'd love to see that if getting those type of audiences involved in NewMR, for example, because I think there's a lot to learn, there's a lot of experiences to share, and there's a lot of forward motion in those worlds where the research skills and the agility and speed at which they're doing research is fantastic, actually. So we're seeing some great outcomes there, and I think that's a trend that will only continue.
So it sounds like along this journey you've been working or talking quite closely with your clients to sort of, learn more about what they need, how you can support them. You've been on a journey together. How do you see the way clients working changing in the near future? Have you got some insights into that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think this, first of all, this idea that we, constantly talk to our clients is something that's come out of the software world. Agile development is something that we've seen applied by our clients to their research methods, and we ourselves have done that. So that whole kind of build, test, learn cycle means that we're in constant innovation mindset. So I'd say, the things that I'm seeing that are the way that clients work changing is, I feel, and this is just me sensing, I feel that they are a little bit confused at the moment about technology and research and insight. It feels like there is a relationship there which they're unclear on. Are they engaging with a technology company, or are they engaging with a strategist specialist? Are they engaging with someone who can deliver them some insights, or is this just about consumer connections and data collection? And I've talked to a lot of kind of brands, big and small, in different locations around the world, and tried to help them get an understanding of, if they work with that organization there, this is the gap they need to plug. They need then to derive the meaning. And so they need to upskill their teams to understand what it is they need to do with the insight that they've gathered. Or is it just, consumer connections and data collection capabilities that they're building by engaging with that company over there, which actually is more of a technology company. So that's the kind of idea and the trends that we're seeing emerge. And I think there's some semantics around that as well, that I feel that clients are having to or need to pay attention to. I mean, it was only last week I was at one of the top 5 consumer brands, hearing a little bit about some of the technical and research innovations that they'd invested in. And I heard a kind of a young girl who was heading up one of these organizations talk about, conversational research being heralded as this new exciting thing. And I've been in the industry long enough to know that there's nothing new in that. But the connection and the ability to outreach and connect with those consumers around the world in an instant is definitely something new. But the methods that are underlying that is certainly not something that's new. So I think it's a wake-up call to us in the research industry, actually, that we need to be talking to those clients in the right way. And we need to listen to the language that some of these new vendors and suppliers and agencies and technology companies are using when they go and talk to those clients. So I think along with that, and this is, I'd say, a change in the way that researchers in-house or in agencies need to work. They need to be a little bit more curatorial in terms of understanding the different suppliers in the chain, the technologies, how they stitch those technologies together to get, a cohesive picture of what's actually taking place in the market. So they need to be a little bit of a technologist, a little bit more creative, a little bit more of a sort of an open mindset in terms of how they work with other partners in those projects. And so, it's very rare that you see a project with only 2 or 3 stakeholders or suppliers and partners involved in it now. Often there are 8, 9, 10 upwards. And so stitching together, managing those relationships for a single outcome is a new skill set that I think a lot of researchers and consumer insight folks are developing really quickly. And that places some different challenges on the process, of course.
Yes, and I think you kind of am preempting perhaps some of the later presentations by starting to give people a bit of a checklist of skills to think about developing, other adjacent areas to perhaps learn some, more about, because it is in many ways sometimes quite surprising how similar, people who would call themselves, like usability researchers often are doing very similar work to market researchers, but they're doing it in either in different places or, sometimes not even being aware that, there's this other whole job or other whole industry, and in many ways are doing very, very similar jobs in different silos.
Yeah, I think it's, I know Ray, just to that point, I know Ray's been championing this for a little while now, but actually how we as a research industry market ourselves and how we understand the competitive market we're in is something that I think we need to get better at. Like there are, I call them parallel universes. Like you say, there are usability research and user research universes out there that are using the same tools and different tools. They sometimes have a better or louder voice and have stronger ownership of the client relationships. And I think we've got to wake up to that fairly soon. or see how we are integrated in that process. And again, I think there's another threat coming from, management consultants, the big five, are acquiring lots of interesting organizations at the moment. A lot of them have research capabilities and research technologies. So those are big wake-up calls, I think, for our industry.
Yeah, I think you've sort of highlighted some of those, but also the other one that comes up from time to time is data analytics. There's lots of market researchers who do data analytics, but then there's another whole industry that is often seen as separate as well. So I think there's probably lots of different places we can be looking to see, who our competitors are, who we can be working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we need to, as people, as researchers in our industry, the thing that we need to really strive for is an absolute focus on what is the added value that we have, because that's the only place to go to, get the revenue and to own those relationships more. So meaning, strategy, prioritization, those are the things that we need to focus on delivering for our clients, not the kind of nascent kind of data collection field services so much anymore. They're highly commoditized, and there is always a place for them, but clearly automation and new technologies are really stealing a march there. So I think we need to keep focusing on our human skills and our human analytical skills and capabilities. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. So we're now at the point where I'd love to throw some questions from the audience to you, Stephen. So if you're sitting out there and you'd like to ask Stephen a question, please don't be shy. Head over to Twitter, type the question, put #NewMR at the end so I can find it, or head to the GoToWebinar question box and type your question in there. But I'll start from a question from Ray, actually. He says, in the future, in terms of qual market research, what will be the balance between experts and DIY, and how will we improve the skill of the novices? That may actually be 3 questions.
How do we? Okay, so what I'm seeing is the organizations that I'm connecting with and talking to, I'm seeing a lot more tactical research being done in-house, more than ever. And that's where automation and the digital toolkit and development of that is really playing out nicely. But on the converse, on the flip side of that, the kind of bigger, more strategic work, I think, is continuing to be outsourced to researchers and agencies that are using a combination of tools, but also kind of their strategic thinking and expertise. And that's where, it's very high value work. And I think that's continuing. I don't think as much of that is being bought in-house as a lot of people might think. And I think the smart brands aren't afraid to, talk openly about that. So, I think brand managers, for an example, doing more research in-house, using tools, quick, good enough, that's happening. And I think that will continue. But I don't think as much of the kind of big strategic thinking and the heavy lifting work will be done in-house, as that shift won't happen in the same way. That's my feeling. The last element of the question again was about. Can you just remind me? Upskilling researchers.
How will we improve the skills of the novices?
How will we improve the skills of the novices? That's something we're addressing in how we work with clients. And I think, as much as I'm a big fan of doing training sessions, listening to webinars and being involved in seminars and getting clients together, online training and development is going to be a big thing. It's going to continue to grow, I'd say. But we're also looking at how we can bake good practice and learning and development in the everyday use of our technology as well. And so how our technology converses and has a relationship with its user is a really important touch point for us. And so, that language, where and how they can interact with, study templates or activity templates, for example, that we have developed over many years in our experience, and is often grounded in academic methods and research as well. That's something, because they don't have the time to spend learning. So in a way, it's almost multiple micro learning touch points that I think will develop their skills. But making that learning and training and development as convenient as possible through, sessions like this, that people can dip in and out of, but on an ongoing basis. And I think also trying to just continue this idea of learning and benchmarking. I think in qualitative research, there isn't as much benchmarking that's done, and standards are really important to us. That's something we try and champion where possible. And one of the things that we're looking at in some of our latest technology as well is how we can, when people interact and use our technology, how they can get sight of the quality of the interactions they've had with consumers in comparison to all of the other researchers that have been using our technology. And if obviously that's falling below a standard, we can then jump in, or our technology can help support and guide them through how to get to that next level. So yeah, standards and quality is certainly something we are trying to do a lot with. But it is hard. It's not easy. We know clients are doing more than ever. They have less time, less attention. It's a common story. We've all heard it many times before.
Yeah, we've got another question that's partly building on Ray's question and partly picking up on your suggestion for people to develop their skills in curation and become more creative. Do you have any tips for how you could train, researchers who are sort of in the early or mid stages of their career? How can they develop those skills?
I would say get out there as much as you can. I think there are lots of events going on in the world, whether it's remote events or in-person events, where you can just hang out with other researchers, either in the same stage of their professional career or a later stage. And never underestimate the value of just a conversation with another researcher, and don't be afraid to ask questions. It sounds obvious I'm saying that to a research audience, but getting outside of the four walls of your office or your organization as much as possible, I think, is just a great way of learning. And try and almost make it a habit where you're kind of reading other blogs and spending time during your week in a structured way, listening and reading, what others are doing, and get involved in those communities and ask questions. Some of the kind of online and in-person events that are happening out there, just go over to, I think it's Eventbrite, and you'll see, they've got some great search tools there. If you type in market research, qualitative research, user research, service design, whatever it might be, you'll be amazed at how many events are going on in and around your area. So, I think practical advice like that, there's nothing new in that, but I think it's just a reminder to keep doing that as often as possible. The other thing I'd always say to any researcher is, try and get yourself a mentor, someone who's, been around in the industry for a significant amount of time. Perhaps a couple of mentors, not necessarily someone who's just come from the digital age, but some of us in that sort of older, more experienced category who were doing research pre-technology. There's still a lot to learn, from social psychologists to doing interviews and focus groups many, many years ago. And a lot of them are big proponents of digital methods, but what they've done is known how to apply digital technologies to their old world methods. And I think they're doing some of the best research. And in fact, the research leader in my organization, very much fits in that particular profile, where she was at the LSE teaching research methods way before technology came around, and she's been mentoring my team and lots of our clients on best practice. So that's some of the suggestions I would make.
Thank you very much, Stephen. You may have stolen part of my presentation that's come, but
oh no.
Oh no! I'll just reinforce your wise words. So, so we're actually out of time, but thanks everyone who chipped in with questions. I think that's been really useful and nice to get your input into the conversation. And Stephen, thanks very much for coming along and being very generous with your thoughts on what's going on in the research space.
Yeah, my pleasure.